You're watching HCAM TV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hopkinton Hangout Hour. I'm HCAM News Director Tom Nappy, and on today's show, we will hear from this year's Select Board candidates. There are two candidates who are hoping to win the one open seat. Also, we want to remind you that this year's Hopkinton Town election is on Monday, June 29th, and if you are planning on voting Election Day, you can head down to the Hopkinton Middle School this coming Monday. In the first segment of our show today, here's my interview with Select Board candidate Amy Ritterbusch. Hello, everyone. We are here with Select Board candidate Amy Ritterbusch. Amy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, it's a busy time of year, but I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Can't complain. It's nice to see things starting to open back up a little bit again.
Yeah. I went into work today for the first time to get my stuff since March. So.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
Did anything change in the office while you were gone?
Well, our plants all died.
Oh.
We had this competition where each different room in the office had was trying to grow an amaryllis plant, and we were going to see whose were the best, and now they're all dead.
So I guess it's a tie.
Yeah, it's a tie.
So was your office totally closed? No one there at all during this whole thing, or?
For the most part, but I think one or two people were going in once a week. I work in a tech department for a school, and so if somebody, a teacher or student, broke their computer, they would accept the broken computer and then hand them a loaner, and they would just do that once a week.
Well, I haven't been at my office for a couple of months, so it should be interesting when I end up getting back there at some point. So first off, for those that don't know you, and I think a lot of people in the community do, because you certainly do a lot around town, but can you talk about your background? And you've also volunteered quite a bit in town government and in many other ways. Can you talk about that as well?
Sure. So I've lived in Hopkinton for 16 years. So we moved here in 2004. I live in the center of town. I have 3 kids. I now have 2 high school graduates, I can say, as of last week. My son Zach graduated in 2018, and my son Ethan just graduated in 2020 and got to do that fun parade. So that was great. And then I have a daughter who's a freshman or just finishing her freshman year in high school. She's not quite done yet. Mm-hmm. And then let's see. I'm just doing a lot of different volunteer roles in town over the years. You know, when I first moved here, Mom's Club and PTA, school council, things like that. And then more recently, I've started with, I've done the Historic District Commission since 2014, Design Review Board, Growth Study Committee, and Planning Board for 3 years now. I think. And for professionally, I work for the Wellesley Public School District as a software and web analyst. So I help out with the website, Power School, databases, things like that schools need. Even now, especially now when everything's closed, making sure the computer processes are running smoothly.
Right. And I know you were on the Hangout Hour a few weeks ago, and we talked about that a little bit, but how's all that going with the software systems for like the e-classes and whatnot? Has it become a little more easier to work with now that we're a few weeks into it?
Yeah, I think it's settled down. You know, everybody now has the hang of logging in, especially those little kids that didn't used to have to log in before, but now that they're home, they do. And then, let's see, what else? Yeah, it's settled down quite a bit, but we're all, you know, not sure what's going to happen for the fall, if we're going to be there in person or, you know, or only part-time or smaller class sizes. I'm not sure quite. So that's a stressor because we can't plan until we really know what it's going to look like in the fall. Yeah.
Yeah, I was seeing something that there might only be 10 allowed in a classroom or something like that. So I don't know if that's workable in a lot of places.
It's hard to plan for. Like, I think they were talking about, would they have half the class go Monday, Tuesday, do a full clean out on Wednesday, and then have the other half go Thursday, Friday? It's really hard for parents to plan for, though, for daycare and things.
Right. Yeah, certainly is. But I think a lot of parents are certainly hoping that the kids are back at school. So
yeah.
So they can have a relatively normal life. So what are some of the other ways you volunteer in the community? I know you do the EHOP thing as well. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. EHOP is really my favorite volunteer role. That started in 2007. And we were at that point really just trying to get information about town budgets and town meeting, because we felt like especially a lot of the people that were newer to town didn't know how that worked. They might have lived in a town that had a mayor and a city council, or even a big town with a representative town meeting. People didn't know about that they could go to town meeting and all the steps that lead up to it, all the different meetings that happen all year. So we just tried to focus on that and build an email list and website, and then added social media later. And it's just grown and grown. And now we're able to we do a weekly roundup email, and then we try to post the select board actions taken and the planning board actions taken. Just kind of and we focus really just on town government, transparency, budgets, town meeting, town election, things like that. Try to avoid, we don't post events, and try to keep our focus small.
Right.
Just obituaries or real estate listings.
Right. Just really on the town government type of stuff that people need to know.
Yeah.
It's certainly a great resource for town election, town government, and all that stuff. So what made you decide to transition from planning board to select board?
Oh, I guess I really feel like I have a lot to add, especially from a communication standpoint. I think I think I could help improve communications for the select board members with the public. I think I would do a good job, I guess, is the main reason. And I've done, I've done planning board now for 3 years. And I think this would be a good next step for me.
And you've been on a number of boards in town. Do you have a favorite town government position that you've done so far?
Oh, one of my favorite, I think, is probably the design review board, because it's a pretty low pressure board. We don't really make binding decisions. We just make recommendations to the planning board. So if someone has a big site plan review, they'll come before us and we give all our design suggestions, and usually they'll listen to what we suggest. But the meetings are short. They're usually less than an hour. We just get to give our opinion on the design and give feedback, and then we're done. It's not a lot of stress. Like the planning board meetings, sometimes people come very angry, upset, and of course we want to hear them, but that can be stressful at the end of the night when you get home.
I'd imagine sometimes those meetings are pretty long too.
Yeah, those go till 10 at least. Yeah.
So one of the points of these interviews is just to allow the community to get to know the candidates a little bit. So can you talk about what some of your interests are and things you like to do outside of the workplace?
Well, let's see. I enjoy gardening, and I think I've really focused inward to the home now that we've been home for so long now. And I like doing do-it-yourself projects in the house. Websites is my passion. So I do websites for work too, but I also enjoy doing it at home too. So last summer, I don't have to work all summer because I work for a school district. I redid the website for the Historic District Commission and the Historical Commission, because they had their website was on a real old server on Town Hall, and it was kind of hard to access, or no, eventually you couldn't even access it all unless you were actually in Town Hall. But a lot of people like to use it for genealogy research or researching about their home and family. So I redid that and made it searchable by keyword, and I love that. I could walk around downtown, take photos of some of the buildings, and then have a photo with each building's property record sheet. So it's not complete. I'm going to keep working on it next year, but it's at least searchable now.
Wow. Well, we look forward to seeing it. Yeah. I feel in this period of social distancing that there's never been really the websites are very important, and anything that you can use to interact on the computer is very important. So have you noticed that, like, more of a need for websites in general?
Yeah, I connected with Laura Davis, who runs the farmers market in town, early in this process, and she wanted to set up online ordering for her website so that she could just post what vegetables she had ready, and people could order online, and she can just leave a bag then outside for them to pick up with their name, and it's quick and easy, very social distanced. Yeah, a lot of restaurants I saw needed to quickly scramble to get online ordering ready. I think I had 3 different requests for website help of small businesses right after the COVID happened. Wow. And I actually passed some of them along to my son, Zach, because they were not very hard.
There you go. You got a family business going.
Yeah. Because I've been super busy at work, with the school stuff. I didn't really have much time in the evening to help other people.
Right. So getting back to that, so what are some of the tasks that you had to do that are different from your normal job with the school gig? Is it like a lot of classroom stuff or just a lot of implementing learning programs? What are some of the various tasks you've had with that?
Oh, so I'm not a teacher, so I mainly just getting information out. So we had to send a lot of email blasts to parents. And then some of them, it's pretty serious stuff we're trying to communicate. And so people that don't speak English as their first language, we had to send those out in other languages and get that posted to the website in many languages. Because when we're introducing new software that we're expecting their children to figure out at home, we got to make sure the parents are understanding it.
Right.
So we introduced Seesaw, which is for the pre-K to 2 students. So we had to send out instructions for parents in all different languages to make sure everybody could do it well. And then students on IEPs too needed to have special, very important legal communications with the parents about what steps they're going to take during remote learning. Mm-hmm. So I had to do a lot of email blasts about that sort of thing.
Wow. So if you don't mind me asking, what are you using it to communicate it into other languages? Is that like a Google Translate type of thing, or is there like a program?
Oh, so if it has to be officially translated, like a lot of these things for COVID where we have to send it out to a company that will do an official translation. But then on our website, we do use the free Google Translate feature that you could translate any page of our site into whatever language. But we're told that that's not really perfect. And sometimes we don't understand idioms and abbreviations and
right,
things like that.
I know it has its flaws, but it's certainly a good system.
It's pretty impressive, really. It's pretty good. It's just not perfect.
Yeah. But a lot of times when I'm talking to somebody that doesn't speak a lot of English, I could just show them, I might try to say it and they won't understand, but then I could just show it to them. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I think people do that when they're traveling now too, to other countries. If they're trying to order something and they can't express themselves, they use the Google Translate on the phone.
Right. Yeah. I could envision Google Translate going even further with that, hopefully, and making it even better. I think it's a great tool.
It's something that HCAM does too for accessibility, which has been key for us during the remote learning. Like YouTube automatically captions everything, and I think they can even caption live events too, so that people can't hear. Right.
There is a subtitle option. I don't know if it's on all the videos or some of them, but I've seen that, which is really cool.
And it's not perfect either, but it's close enough that you can kind of understand. Because students that have some kind of learning disabilities too, it helps them to see the words at the same time they're being spoken to. So it's really useful for schools too.
Right. Does the school you work for use that a lot?
We do. Let's see. We don't put everything on YouTube because it's not really appropriate for younger kids. We've been trying to use safeyoutube.net a lot, but we're supposed to caption everything. Oh, and the Google Meet, the Google Hangouts thing, that is also auto captioned. So that's really cool if they're doing a class discussion.
I did not know that one. I'm sure Zoom will have it maybe in the next update now that they're hearing that Google Translate has it.
Yeah, I've heard that they're working on it, or maybe it's an add-on or something, but that'd be really awesome.
Yeah, it certainly will. And it's amazing, like all these new communication programs. Well, they're not really new. Like Zoom, I guess, has been around a while, but I never even knew about it until we ended up having to use it to do things like this.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard of it really either. I'd use Skype and GoToMeeting. There's a few of them. But Zoom is new.
Yeah, and if you bought stock in any of them, you're a happy guy right now. So how has your quarantine experience been during these last few months, and what are some of the activities that you've been doing?
Well, let's see. We've been cooking more at home, so that's nice, and we were taking turns. I have a son that just graduated and a freshman daughter, so they've been having to cook one night a week during quarantine, so that's nice. We've been walking around in the evenings because you get so tired of sitting in this chair all day, same chair all day. And I've been gardening. I've gone to, Angels and Weston Nurseries a couple times to pick up plants, with my mask on, of course.
Right.
Yeah. I've been doing. Oh, and I did some home improvements. I did a lot of touch-up paint. And my son, my older son, Zach, who goes to school in Wales, he's still there. But he wasn't home, so I painted his room. Completely took everything out, painted it. And he'll be home next week, so he'll get to see it.
And I mean, nothing about the virus you would call good, but I think one of the cool things, I guess, about it is it kind of did slow down life a little bit and gave you a chance to get to all those home projects that you wish you had time for.
We've really gotten a lot done. Yeah. And I have to say, I'm thankful too. I know not everybody, if some people, if you're an essential worker, you still having to go to work and it's more stressful.
Right.
But I've been very lucky that I can work at home.
Yes. Me too. Because I think if you have to go to work, you're nervous, especially if you have to deal with the public at all at a grocery store or something like that. I mean, I'd be nervous working those jobs, especially when, maybe not now, but when the virus was at its height. I mean, it's nerve-wracking stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, it's good to see things opening back up again. Mm-hmm. And we do have some rapid fire questions that we are going to ask you. So this will allow people to get to know you a little bit better. So favorite food to eat?
Oh, so I really love pizza and sushi, I would say. They're my two favorites. So sushi's a treat, and we make homemade pizza every week on Friday, and we love that.
Ah, there you go. What's your favorite kind of pizza?
Oh, mushroom and prosciutto.
Very nice. What about sushi? Got any favorite rolls or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. I like I think it's called the rainbow roll. And then I really like the salmon roll, they don't have that everywhere. It's a very funny texture. Not everybody likes it. Yes.
Yeah, some people, I think sushi is one of those things that you either love it or hate it.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite food to cook?
Oh, let's see. Well, I can say desserts, I assume, right? I love to make chocolate chip cookies, and I have a really good chewy brownie recipe. So anything chocolatey, I love to make.
Ah, very nice. What's your favorite vacation destination?
Oh, France, I guess I would say. I can't go there every year, but a few times I've been, it's been wonderful.
When was the last time you went there?
I think it was, let's see, maybe 2017. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 2017 this last time.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I went there, it was a long time ago, but beautiful country. Just the scenery is unbelievable.
And now that it's starting to be summer, I'm starting to miss the fact that we probably can't travel anywhere this year. We'll have to just stay home. And it's nice to get away in the summer. Right.
I mean, you can. It's travel's starting to open up a little bit again. I don't know if they opened it up to Europe yet, but I know within America there's a lot of places reopening travel, but we'll see. I think hopefully the virus will keep going down and things will keep opening up.
Yeah, eventually.
What's your favorite musician?
Oh, that's a tough one. I guess I'm a big fan of Steely Dan, I would say.
Ah, very nice. My mom's a big fan. She got the opportunity to see him live not too long ago. What's your favorite song?
Oh boy, it changes from year to year. Sometimes I'm in the mood for one song or another. Let's see. I guess Reelin' in the Years, I'll say.
Ah, good one.
I don't know that that's really my favorite. I don't narrow it on one.
It's rapid fire, so first one to come to your head. Well, kind of rapid fire, but favorite form of entertainment?
Oh, let's see. I guess probably movies, I would say. Yeah.
All right.
I love trivia too. I like to play online trivia, and because we can't do bar trivia, I've done it online a few times during quarantine.
I wonder if that'll be a thing. Online bar trivia.
Yeah.
That sounds like it could go places. I've been talking to a good amount of people that they have like family night and they play games online and stuff like that. So I think the Zoom thing and the online interaction will stick around even long after the virus is gone.
Yeah, because we've done this with my mom is in Indianapolis, and we've played not trivia, but like a balderdash game on our phones with her during quarantine. And we could have done that any time of year. We just didn't, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah. What's your favorite book?
Oh, Pride and Prejudice, I think. Yeah. By Jane Austen. Yeah.
What was it? Pride and Prejudice?
Oh, Pride and Prejudice, yeah.
Ah, okay.
I've also read the one with Pride and Prejudice with zombies, but the original, of course, is my favorite.
So what's the story in that book?
It's a love story about it takes place in the early 1800s in England, and let's see, it's a girl. So she's a family of 4 or 5 daughters, I think, and the father. There's no sons, so nobody's going to, kind of like Downton Abbey, I guess you'd say. None of the girls can inherit the property, so they need to marry well, or else they're going to lose their home when the father dies. And so she meets kind of a prideful, man, Mr. Darcy, who seems pretty snobby, but then in the end, he really respects her and loves her, and it works out. Not to spoil it for everyone.
Well, now no one has to read it.
No, but the language is very clever and witty, how she describes it. I think the opening is something. It's like they read it in high school, I think, but it's a truth universally known that a man with a fortune must be looking for a wife, I think is how it goes. but it's something the women say. But
sounds like a good story.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite restaurant?
I really like Bertucci's, I would say.
Tremendous pizza.
We've been going to that Holliston one for years, since before we were married even. Yeah. It's been there a long time.
I'm hoping that one sticks around. I know a few of them closed recently.
Yeah, that's true. Well, actually, it's a lot of restaurants are probably having a tough time right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the businesses that were certainly affected most. But I went over to Cafe Sorrento yesterday, their opening day, sat outdoors on their patio. It was a great experience.
Oh, wow. We've been doing takeout every week, at least once a week, but it'll be nice to actually go somewhere and sit outside.
Yeah. I know in Hopkinton, a lot of the restaurants that don't typically do the outside seating are going to start doing it. I've heard rumblings that Cornell's going to, and all those restaurants on Main Street too. They're trying to find ways to do some outside seating. So it should be interesting.
Become cafe culture. Could be a whole new vibe for the downtown.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your favorite movie?
Oh, let's see. That also changes when I see another good movie. What did I see recently that I liked? I guess it would be cheating to say Pride and Prejudice again. I like the one with Colin Firth in it. That's my favorite. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to have to say. There's too many movies.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay to say you're not sure, or you don't have a favorite, or you have too many favorites. Totally acceptable. Do you have a favorite actor or actress?
Oh, I really like Kate Winslet, I would say.
Yeah, she's always good. So what's it been like? So that's the end of the rapid fire questions. So I want to know though, what's it been like on the campaign trail this year with the virus? I mean, have you been able to really do anything campaign wise? Obviously, I'm sure that you've done a lot of online work.
Yeah, so we usually would like to go door knocking because people really appreciate that personal touch, but we thought even attempting that this year, people would be very wary of us coming to their door. So we did have to raise a little bit more money, and we're going to do a mailer. I think we have both an envelope mailer and a postcard mailer. And then, of course, I would have always done stuff online anyway, so we're doing Facebook ads and Instagram. And actually, I have a new appreciation for HCAM. I've actually tried doing my own videos this year, which it's not my favorite. It gets so much easier just to post a photograph, but experimenting with Adobe Premiere Pro, which I had not really ever used before. But I'm getting the hang of it. Because video performs really well on social media. I'm not a huge video fan, but a lot of people are, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People love the videos. And the cool thing about the social media videos is people just see them on their news feed. And if it's a Facebook one, that one will just start playing. So maybe it'll catch their eye. They'll end up watching it. But I think social media videos are just becoming bigger and bigger.
Yeah. But it must take you guys so long to edit and maybe you're faster at it because you do it all the time, but to adding all the title slides and overlays and things, it just takes me all evening to do a video.
Oh, it takes a while. I mean, and a lot of the programs, they're pretty straightforward, and really it's just adding a title here and there. But a thing like a news segment where you have to slice it up, grab different shots, a 5-minute news segment could take an hour, sometimes hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on what it is and how many different shots are available and how many things are involved. But it's fun. And I think one of the cool things about editing is you kind of put your own personality into the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough to do, but the more you do it, the better you get. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So what are some of if you're elected to the select board, what are some of the issues that you are most looking forward towards working on, or some of the projects that the select board's involved with that you're most looking forward to taking part in?
Let's see. So I guess I already talked about, I think, improved communication and a web presence, I think, is important, especially now during social distancing. And then, let's see, the other thing I think is economic development is a big issue, and the growth. I mean, at the town, that has to be the first big obvious thing. Like, we've grown so much, we're diversified a little bit more, and I don't think we've really fully adjusted to the growth yet. And it's not done. We're going to still keep having more people move in, I think. And then I'm worried about the economic development even more now with the COVID. What if the restaurants close, or, we don't know how long it's going to last before we can fully open up. And budgets are going to be really tight, so we're just going to have to be really careful and, listen to the public. What do they want? What do they prioritize? Where can we maybe hold back and not add some things certain years or for a couple of years until we get back on our feet? But I think that's about it.
Terrific. Well, you've certainly done a lot for the community, and we're looking forward to seeing what happens in this contested race for select board.
Yeah.
2 very qualified candidates, I would say. So before we wrap it up, is there any final thoughts or anything you want to say to the voters in the community?
Oh, I just really want to remind them about voting by mail and that everybody can do that, because I think people hardly have ever voted absentee in their life. I think the last time I did it was in college, and they don't understand the process. So just the first thing to do is to get your absentee ballot application, which you just fill out, and you can even email back to the town clerk, or you can drop it off, and then he'll mail you your ballot. And I just got mine yesterday, so I'm going to vote probably tonight and then drop it off at town hall. But anyway, it's 2 steps. You got to request the absentee ballot, then you got to fill it out and return it. And there's still plenty of time, but just don't forget to leave time for the 2 steps.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get out there and vote, everybody. Well, Amy, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us, and we wish you the best of luck.
All right. Thanks very much, Tom. It's good to see you.
That was our interview with Select Board candidate Amy Ritterbusch, and now we will play our interview with current Select Board Vice Chair and a candidate in this year's town election, John Countinho. Hello, everyone. We are here with current Select Board Vice Chair, as well as a candidate for Select Board in this year's town election, John Countinho. John, how are you doing?
Very good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show today. So these interviews are to allow the community to get to know the candidates a little bit more. So first off, can you talk about your volunteer experience in the Hopkinton community?
Well, it started from before I even moved into town. I used to volunteer for the robotics program at the high school even before I moved here. But the more recent stuff is 12 years on the Zoning Advisory Committee, otherwise known as ZAC, and 9 or 10 of it as chair, where we got somewhere around 80 or 90 different zoning changes through the town meeting. And that's important because many towns wait 4 or 5 years to do that kind of stuff, but we tweak it every single year to make sure that we're keeping up with current trends and such. And then I did a little over 4-year stint on the planning board, where I really learned how the town works and how how to best work with the business community and how to put the right businesses in the right places, as well as also exercising the ability for people to utilize their own property rights. It's important that people are allowed to do what they want with their land, but to as a town to help guide them for what we're a commonwealth for the greater good. And for the last 6 years, I've been on the Board of Selectmen, 3 years as vice chair, 1 year as chair, where we just really we've held the line. We've done a great job at protecting our taxpayers, keeping up our schools as well as our public safety. I'm a member of the Upper Charles Trails Committee, the Marathon Fund Committee. I'm a Mason, a Shriner. I'm a lecturer at St. John's Evangelist Church. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus, Congregation B'nai Shalom, Hopkinton Sportsman's, Marlboro Fish and Game. So yeah, I spread myself kind of thin.
Certainly, and I know you're very busy with your volunteer efforts and all those committees that you're a member of, but could you tell us about what you like to do in your spare time? Like
I think we just no, I restore classic Mercedes. I still have a dune buggy that I built over 40 years ago. That's a little yellow car that people see me drive around in. It's more of a motocross / dune buggy. And I enjoy tinkering with that and teaching my daughters how to fix their own cars. And both of them are very good at that. I also build and renovate houses.
Oh, wow. How long have you been fixing cars for?
Since before I could drive. I owned my first car at 15. A 1966 Olds 442. I love that car. It had great heat. Then right after that, I built my dune buggy, and then I just went into muscle cars for a while. And but as I got older, I went into the classic Mercedes. That's why you see my wife drives an SL that I restored for her several years ago.
Oh, very nice. Must save you quite a few bucks rather than going to the mechanic.
No, then I know it, and especially because I know that it's done right.
Right.
And it's the way that I want to do it, and it helps because I can, at times some people have to make a choice whether or not to put the best parts in, or pay the labor. Now, since I'm doing the labor, I can put the best parts in and spend the money there.
Excellent. So the select board, they have been meeting through Zoom. How has that experience been? Did it take any adjustment getting used to it?
Oh, it's constantly taking adjustment. Even me talking to you here, I'm the kind of guy that goes on site. As you know that I like going to all the events. Like this year we're going to be missing to begin with marathon. And then Hopkinton Day, and the veterans breakfasts the first Friday. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to go and sit down with the vets and find out what's going on with them. That gives us the opportunity to know what's happening with some of our elderly and some of our most vulnerable. Going to the senior center, meeting people there. But I'm the kind of guy that likes to be on site. To me, it's a reasonable facsimile, but it doesn't meet looking somebody in the eye, shaking their hands, and reassuring them that you're actually going to do something to make their life better.
Yeah, I think it's been an overall adjustment for just about everybody out there, and certainly a lot of events that we're all missing for sure. So do you think that the Zoom meetings, though, may perhaps have a future for government meetings even after the pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. Because one of the problems, if you noticed beforehand, we're always looking for meeting space. That was one of the reasons to renovate the library, in that we need more meeting space. We need more meeting. Well, so, if we can work it out that some groups can continue to meet online or through Zoom or Google, because especially if people can't make it, that you need an emergency meeting during the summer, or even during a snowstorm, where we used to call stuff off. Well, if this gets to be accepted, then we can do stuff like that, and government doesn't have to slow down, because it doesn't always have to be in due time. The government acted in utmost haste, so.
Right. Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing too. I don't even think most people knew about all these programs such as Zoom and stuff like that until we had this virus happen.
Yeah. People really just didn't get it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it certainly works well, and we're happy we're still able to put the meetings on TV as well, even through Zoom and programs like that. So how has your campaigning experience been during this time of social distancing? I'd imagine there wasn't too much door knocking. Well,
it's been difficult because, as I said, there were no veterans breakfasts to go to. There were no bean suppers to go to. There were, and the whole thing ended up being on social media, and I don't really want to get into that because it's been difficult. The COVID-19 caused it, but it's been a difficult year because of the nastiness going on. Hopkinton's better than what was going on. There was certain people were turning a blind eye, and when some of the nastiness was occurring, and Hopkinton's better than that, and it's tough. Facebook pages filled with nasty comments and then dirty deleted. As dirty delete. So when somebody puts up something up for a few minutes, or a rude comment or a lie or something, and then just to get a narrative going, and then deletes it, and it's damage was done, but there's no evidence. And people say, "Whoa, what was it? Oh my God!" And this neighbor's being attacked by neighbors. And others sit back in their campaigns and allow it, and they're complicit. I've had enough, and I know that Hopkinton's had enough. I think just last year, Claire Wright, a neighbor that's dedicated over 30 years of her service to the town, was mercilessly attacked on social media with half-truths, lies, and innuendos. And she didn't deserve that. No one deserves that. People that want to come to a volunteer position shouldn't be afraid to come forward and help. It's got to stop. And we got to no more turning a blind eye for fear of being the next victim. And again, those that allow it are complicit. We just got to stop that. And hopefully when we get back to face, because when even now we're just doing Zoom, people can say more than they would if they were standing right in front of you or getting ready to shake your hand. Or it's just got to end, But hopefully, once this social media stuff happens and people are actually social again and not antisocial, that we can get back to being neighbors as opposed to just being a little picture on the corner of a screen, or at the end of an email or the end of a Facebook post. And I think that humanity will come back into some people.
Yeah, it could certainly be nasty out there in the social media world. But the good thing is, I guess, things are starting to open up again. So from your experience, have you been out to any restaurants or anything like that since things opened up? I just think it's so good to see some of these businesses getting back on their feet.
Well, it's funny you should say that. First time. Well, last night's the first time that we're allowing or the state's allowing people to go inside restaurants. But last night, my daughter said, "Dad, we've got to go out to eat." So we first headed over to Bill's, but it was 5 minutes of 8, and they were closing at 8. So we went across the street to Pad Thai and had a great meal at Pad Thai. We sat outside. It was just a lot of fun. I remember in the midst of the pandemic, and I'm thinking to myself, the one thing I want to do is get my flat top haircut done, and to get to a restaurant. And so yesterday I completed and got to go to a restaurant. And it was just a heck of a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun.
That's great. And I think it's so cool, too, that you see a lot of these restaurants that typically don't have the outdoor seating adjusting and getting that outdoor seating so they can have some customers there.
Yeah, it was tough, and that's, we really have to make sure that we go to our local restaurants and tip big. We got to tip big. These waiters and waitresses and restaurant owners, for 4 or 5 months now have been suffering. And then we were just talking about putting the outdoor seating in. Everybody had to do it on their own dime. So here are all these restaurants that are suffering to begin with. And now we said to them, well, if you want to have customers, you have to put up a tent and barriers and all of this stuff for these people to do just to try and get to 25% of capacity. And when restaurants try and figure their profit and loss on 100%, to say 25%, it's just going to be difficult. So I urge everyone, go to local restaurants and tip big.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we've had many shows about restaurants, even talked to some restaurant owners, and you certainly got to tip big, as you said, since a lot of the staff at those restaurants were working very minimally or not at all during the midst of the pandemic. So I want to cycle back to the select board. I'm sure the virus maybe raised some issues that you didn't have before as far as the select board. Could you talk about anything that was created by the virus that created a task that the select board is going to have to face?
Oh my gosh. It's, there are communities all around us that are already having huge layoffs. But, we've got a great stabilization, and, because of the work that's been done in the last decade by really great boards of selectmen that have come before us, and me for the last 6 years. It's we've had some good businessmen. I've been in the private sector for over 40 years, and I've balanced budget and run P&Ls, and always looking for return on investment. And increasing productivity and service. That's just like running a town. And there've been other people like me that understand our stabilization fund and how having a strong stabilization fund will be big through this crisis. We've got the OPEB account now. We've been funding ours for years now, and many towns haven't. And that's important to fund because that's how our retired workers, get to have their paycheck every week and get the benefits. And some towns just haven't funded it, and it really affects their bond ratings and such. And that's one of the main things that keep a town going. Is if you have a great bond rating, you can borrow money much less expensively than other towns. And that's just another factor of how we've been able to keep our budgets balanced without killing the taxpayers. State aid is going to drop by about $2 or $3 million next year, and the receipts from our businesses are going to go down because we just talked about it. That restaurants have been closed and shops have been closed, and and just think that people haven't bought cars in the last 6 months, and so that means our excise tax receipts are going to go down. Our enterprise funds. Enterprise people don't understand that water, sewer, and parks and rec, they're their own P&Ls, or profit and loss sectors. So that, they're responsible for getting their customers, keeping their customers, and running programs. So if people are using less water, then the water doesn't make as much money. And the same thing when we start talking about parks and rec. If Parks and Rec are cutting programs, well, they're not going to have the receipts that they're coming in. So we're going to have to beef them up with extra funding that we have to take from someplace else. But with towns all around us having layoffs, we're really in a great place. other towns are cutting, and here we are discussing how much we're going to grow the school budget, how much we're going to grow our police, fire, and DPWs. Well, that's because we've done a really great job over the last several years, and we're able to have enough money in the coffers, and we're able to move stuff around and in order to stay safe.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of obstacles. In Hopkinton, but of course, every town really that had to face this. So how was your quarantine experience during these last few months during the midst of the pandemic? What are some of the things that you did during the pandemic?
I took a lot of precautions, but I was out a lot. As you saw, I had a lot of fun with the masks and our marathon statues. Just trying to get the message out for people to wear masks. So went around putting masks on all our statues. And that was a bunch of fun. But one of the things that I did was I parlayed my experience in the medical industry and went back to some of the companies I worked for and got PPE, whether it be masks, gloves, ponchos, and other things, and delivered them to hospitals that needed it. We worked out on the Board of Selectmen, worked out a deal with the BAA and got 3,000 ponchos, and I was able to bring them to the Tenet Hospital in Worcester, to St. Vincent's Hospital. I went to one of my customers and got ponchos for Milford Hospital. And even things just like donating blood and then going and we were putting flags on all the veterans tombstones as well as the Knights of Columbus tombstones. So again, I just tried being out there as much as possible so people knew that their select board is around and approachable. 6 feet away, of course, and with wearing masks and gloves. But that's what it is. I wanted people to know that we're still there. And then we're not just a little 3-inch by 2-inch rectangle on a screen every couple of weeks. That we're here for them. We're here for Hopkinton.
And with the PPE that you helped bring to those hospitals, you worked with the Boston Athletic Association, if I'm correct?
Well, that was one of them that I mentioned. Yeah. So since we didn't have the marathon this year, and the BAA always plans on rain just in case, they had an excess number of those clear and some yellow ponchos that they give the volunteers. So we worked out a deal, and they got us 3,000 of them that I was able to bring to St. Vincent's Hospital, Worcester, because they were really caught short, and when they were in the operating rooms, they didn't have any, And then a similar thing happened because my wife, as some of you know, is a physician at Milford Hospital, and the same thing happened in their ORs. Is that they ran out of surgical gowns, and they were actually using the ponchos. We didn't get as tough as some of the places in New York that were cutting holes in trash bags, but it was frightening for a while that they just completely ran out of PPE.
And how did your wife make out at Milford Hospital? I'd imagine it was a stressful time for her.
It's still stressful because we're not out of the woods yet.
Right.
Everybody that comes in has to be tested, and in Journal of American Medical, in JAMA, they talked about a full 15% of OB patients that come in are infected. And when especially if you're an obstetrician, when a woman's giving birth, they tell people to breathe hard, and so that means that if that person's COVID positive, that everybody in the room is at risk. So it's still a frightening experience, but she's soldiering through, and it's also been tough because many physicians took huge pay cuts because they weren't able to do all their services. So many of them took 25% pay cuts. And so here they are under more stressful conditions, being in the hospital more, and then taking a 25% pay cut. But then again, I guess it's better than, some people that, are completely out of work.
Yeah, well, we certainly have to be thankful to all the medical personnel and the frontline workers, and hopefully we won't have a second wave. That's what I'm hoping for.
Absolutely. God bless.
All right. So what were some of your goals for the select board here if you are elected in this election? What were some of your goals, I guess, before the pandemic, and has any of them changed because of the pandemic?
Oh, completely. Well, yeah. I'm running again because I really feel as though I owe it to the community. It's. I look back at the 6 years and all that was accomplished. That I've been able to see and hear the impact that I and my colleagues had on the community. I've seen an impact with the schools when we're able to get kindergarten to the schools. The impact of the bus stop dads when I up on Legacy Farms North, when I told them, please have some patience, few more negotiations, and we'll get it done. Well, just a few weeks ago, we got it done. If you drove up it right now, it's all striped and everything else. The trees are all there and everything else. It was hard organizing, but it was great to see the look on some of the faces when Tim Kilduff and I, got the outline set up so that the local charity runners will be able to complete the race. They'll be able to complete their obligations and make money for the respective charities. We feel as though it could be somewhere around $1.5 million this year. That's huge for our local charities. We got to, and so it makes it all workmanship. When I think about the partnership with Hopkinton Friends, and in the last few years having Hopkinton Day. Granted, AAA killed it last year, and it looks like COVID's going to kill it this year. But and then the partnership that we have with Just Because, First Community Pantry, and that was great. I owe a lot of Norman Kamalo was just phenomenal when it came to that stuff, and the board supporting that. Yeah, so I really owe it to the community to do one more term, because we got to protect us, especially in this COVID. We got to protect our schools, because they're great, and we don't want to lose anything there. And our public safety, 2 years in a row, we're the number one safest community in Massachusetts. It's spectacular. So we got to protect them, and then we got to protect our taxpayers and the most vulnerable. That's. It's all about the taxpayers, and to make sure that they get all the services that they've expected for the last 6 years, even through these difficult times.
Absolutely. So we have just a few minutes left. So I'm going to ask some rapid fire questions about some of your favorite things, and it's totally okay. You don't have to have a favorite. You could say I don't know. So. What is your favorite food to eat?
Ribeye. My wife's going to kill me for saying that, admitting it, but yeah.
Favorite food to cook?
Probably a few shrimp dishes.
All right. Favorite vacation destination?
Israel.
Favorite musician?
Luther.
Favorite song?
1,000 Kisses.
Favorite form of entertainment?
Favorite form of entertainment?
Yeah, it could be like, I don't know, music, reading, theater, sports.
Yeah, probably theater, because it always entails a trip to New York and a really fun weekend. So probably that. Is that or the Museum of Science? I've belonged to Museum of Science now for 35 years, and I just think it's it just gets better and better every single year.
Favorite book? And if you don't have one, that's okay too.
Actually, my latest one by Charles Payne, Investing During the Crisis. It usually is the latest one. One never stays with me too long. It's always the next one.
Absolutely. Favorite restaurant?
Oh my goodness. Oh shoot! Now I have to stay. I would say you have to stay outside of Hopkinton. It would be. Well, I don't want to answer that one.
Okay, no problem.
Because I'll get in trouble because there'll be more steak restaurants.
Well, if you want to say favorite restaurant outside of Hopkinton, that's okay too.
No, but it's still going to be Able Louis. It's going to be Able Louis. And then my wife's more meat. Once a month. Yeah. Okay.
Favorite movie?
I don't know, my kids. Well, my kids have the heat on a lot here because of all the Boston accents and stuff, and so it's hard to say my favorite movie because when you're in a big family, you never really get to pick your own movies.
Too many to name, right?
Yes.
All right, so we're just about out of time. Are there any final thoughts or anything that you want to say to the voters in the community?
Yeah, I would just love if the voters of Hopkinton could give me another 3 years to finish up everything that started. We're coming into a difficult time, and we really don't have any time for a learning curve. This crisis that's hitting us is hitting us hard. As I said, there are layoffs all around us, and we need the business acumen and the experience of the fiscal municipal budgets in order to get us through these next 3 years. There's just no time for experiments or ideas of trying to limit growth, or we have to embrace as much growth as we can get during this economic time, and we have to find every avenue of revenue that we can possibly get so that we can, as I said, protect our schools, protect our public safety, and protect our taxpayers and the most vulnerable. It's just it's too serious a time. We've been smiling and joking about a whole bunch of stuff, but this is really serious. We're talking about people's lives. We're talking about a mental health crisis, and youth and family services that's going to be hit hard. It's already being hit hard, and we really have to make sure that there's enough funding, because that's something that always slips under the rug and people forget about it. But because there's COVID-19, our mental health crisis is going to be huge. We got a great grant from Senator Spilka, was just announced the other day, that's going to help. But we need much more money than that to protect our most vulnerable in this town.
All right, John. Well, thanks so much for talking with us today. We wish you the very best of luck.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Have a great day. God bless everyone.
And there you have it. That was our interview with the two select board candidates, Amy Ritterbusch and John Countinho. And now we have some bonus Hopkinton Hangout Hour for you. We're going to be bringing in our next guests, Meena Kaushik and Sundar Sivaraman. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing those names wrong. Let's see, Meena, and I see you. You just got to turn your camera. There you are. There you both are.
Hold on. We have this virtual. Let me remove my.
I love it.
Virtual background.
You got some Jeopardy in the background.
Yes, it is.
That's
now,
great.
of course, I don't know how to do it in a pinch. Give me one.
That's okay. You can see us both, right?
Okay.
Yes, I can see you both very well. So first off, I apologize. I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing your names right. Meena Kaushik and Sundar Sivaraman.
That's true. Perfect.
Excellent. All right.
Looks like you practiced a lot.
I did a few times. So Meena, you're running for the Hopkinton Library Board of Trustees. Sundar, you're running for the Planning Board. So we'll start off with a question for Meena. Meena, what made you want to run for the Library Board of Trustees?
Well, libraries, public libraries especially, has always been a passion of mine. I grew up in India, And public libraries were very scarce there, very few in between. And growing up, I couldn't find one. We always had to go to a private lending library, which costs money. So not many people have the resources. So, I understand the value that and the service that public library provides. We moved to the US about 22 years ago, and one of the first things that we did was sign up. We were in Framingham at that time. One of the first things we did was sign up for the public library, the card. And my kids were when they were younger. We have the best memories going to the library. So there's two. This is a two-part answer. That's one. So my love and passion for the library. The second is about 14 years ago, we moved to Hopkinton, and I love this town. I love this community. Our neighborhood, the neighbors were so welcoming. My kids grew up here. And then I started volunteering, taking on volunteer roles in the town. I got involved with the Boy Scout troop. Our son is a Eagle Scout to the troop one. And then I joined the Hopkinton Cultural Council. I also am part of the Sustainable Green Committee. I'm also a board member at the South Asian Circle of Hopkinton. So all these things that made me very fulfilled. So I felt the next step was there was a suggestion. Okay, why don't you stand for election? I always steered clear of that, and then I found that okay, this one seems like it's matching my passion for library and also the whole idea of public service. So here I am. That's the reason.
Wow, you're doing a whole lot. Sundar, what made you want to run for the planning board?
So, Tom, we've lived in this country for about 22 years, in Hopkinton for about 14 years. And it always felt like, this was always home for us. And we're all from India, but then this is the second home. This is almost becoming our primary home with our kids having been born here. So, never really thought about public service in that regard. Then I realized, so much of what we do relates to where we live and the town that is giving us all those services. So I think it felt high time that there was some level of giving back to the community. So we've done the same kind of volunteering that Meena just mentioned, but we almost wanted to take it to that next level. And last year, I got selected to the ZAC in the town. ZAC gave me some experience of town government and the kind of issues that we were jostling with and juggling with. What are the challenges? And it seemed that when the planning board vacancy came up, and this was a vacancy caused by Amy Ritterbusch running for a select board. Amy and I, we are all very good friends because of our Boy Scout connection. She suggested, hey, you've got this experience in ZAC, not much, but a few months, but that would be a good springboard to doing something in the planning board. And why don't you give it a try? I'll be very honest with you, Tom. It was intimidating for a start. I said, no way, I'm not doing it. Let me be in the ZAC. Let me earn my stripes. Let me do some more experience in the ZAC. And then let me pitch myself into the planning board. But Amy and a lot of other friends would have none of it. They said you would be a good fit, and here I am. But I'm now looking forward to this opportunity.
That's terrific. Meena, you mentioned a number of volunteer efforts that you're a part of. Sundar, are you part of any of the volunteer efforts as well?
Little bit of Boy Scouts, but other than that, I would say I've done a little bit for the town. A few years ago, I ran the Boston Marathon, collected some funds for the library 1 year, and then in a different year, I collected from funds for the senior center. So I'm not that ambitious as Meena is. Meena really relishes these opportunities. I have not done enough, so I'm sorry to say I've not done enough, and this is probably all the more reason for me to put myself out there in the planning board.
Well, you're making a big effort here with the planning board. So that's certainly a
Definitely.
big role to take on and volunteer for your community. And what you guys are doing is great. So Meena, you mentioned a number of groups and volunteer efforts that you're a part of. Could you tell us about any of them? Do you have any favorite like projects that you work on with these volunteer organizations?
Yes, absolutely. So the Hopkinton Cultural Council is a town committee that gets the grant money from the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and it basically gets applications from grantees every year and gives out that money. So I'm part of that, and I went through one cycle where we looked through all the applications and selected the awards for those, and it was really very fulfilling. And we just wish that we had more money to give all the grantees that requested it. It's a very nice program that fosters community cultural events and artists and musicians, and so yeah, that's one. The other one, sort of similar, I'm on the board of the South Asian Circle of Hopkinton. This is primarily the South Asian countries: India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka. And what we tried to do was to create awareness within the town and make the rest of the town aware of what the South Asian culture is. And as part of that, actually, we approached the library and we asked the library if we could put displays every month. And that was a very popular, very super hit. So we used to do every month one. We would take a theme and we would put in a display right as soon as you enter the library. And we got a lot of comments. And the first couple of months, the library had given us one corner. It was a little bit off the beaten path, so to speak. And then after they saw how much foot traffic it got, they said, "Oh, you can expand. You can have 2 tables." So it was really, really very nice. Yeah.
And I know
talking, but
we've had the opportunity to cover some of those events you mentioned. They were very fun events for the community. So next, I want to talk about some goals you wish to accomplish during your terms. Sundar, do you have any goals or projects that you're looking forward to working on with the planning board?
So Tom, this is my first experience with planning board. So I think I have a general idea, but not a very particular idea. But let me bring in what we've had discussions in the ZAC, and maybe one or two of those items may end up helping form my thoughts about this. One of my passions is to bring a lot more affordable housing to Hopkinton. I know there is a lot of talk within the town. I think there is a charter which really talks about bringing that. I think we could do a lot in that direction. I think the logistics and what those plans are, of course, we will have to discuss that in the planning board, in the select board meetings, and in the ZAC meetings as well. I think given where this country is heading, that even without the Black Lives Movement and all that stuff, I've always felt passionate that it is important for a town to recognize that you should not have an air of exclusivity around this. I mean, you want exclusivity because you've got great schools and great neighborhoods, but it should be open and welcoming, and affordable housing and making more of that definitely is a large part of should be a large part of a town's objectives, and that's something I definitely want to push for as it comes to the planning board. That definitely stands above and beyond most of my other objectives. The other one is really providing more recreational opportunities for citizenry in the community. I think a lot has been spoken and discussed about the downtown corridor, bike path, and all of us end up going to Milford to enjoy the Charles River Trail. We end up going to Marlborough to enjoy the Apex, the gaming center. Why not have more of that or some of that within town? So again, I don't know what those are going to be, Tom, but generally, trying to push more of those recreational things for our own community within the community. So those two things would be definitely number one and number two in my mind.
Well, we certainly look forward to see what happens. Meena, do you have any goals or projects that you're looking forward to working on with the Library Board of Trustees?
Well, as Sundar said, this is also my first foray into this being the board of library trustee. And this is a time, it's a tough time to be entering this. We are not having any face-to-face meetings. It's all virtual. I've already been invited to attend a training, which is also going to be on Zoom. So it's going to be difficult with the pandemic. And also the concern is that funding might not be available or might not be the same as what it was in the previous years. So as we navigate these challenges, of course, we want to definitely provide and if not to keep the same services, provide more services to the library patrons. And that's the main goal. And I will do my best to make sure the dollar, runs a long way.
And the library, they certainly did a very good job during this pandemic, implementing some of those e-programs that they were able to get going, such as the storytelling, and they had a big presence on social media.
Yes, yes. There's so many online programs now for and soon, I hope soon, with phase 2, stage 2 coming up, we will have curbside pickup or something in the library.
Absolutely. And hopefully soon they'll be able to open the doors and we can get back to the
Yes,
library.
yes.
Meena, do you have a favorite program or a feature at the Hopkinton Library?
Well, when my kids were little, that used to be our go-to place. We used to go to the story time or whatever it was called, playtime, story time. But the other ones I've been enjoying over the last 2 or 3 years is Hop 101. That's my favorite event. It brings together all the organizations in the community. Everyone gets a table. It's all across the 3 floors. I really got to know so many different organizations all in one day under one roof. That's one. The having the new building has opened up so many avenues. There's the big room where you have events. I like those family Saturday events that happen. I think it's mainly probably during the winter, but those are really fun. And the ad hoc events that go on in the big room, those are something I look forward to. I think it caters, those events are for all age groups, and really look forward to that.
Yeah, I think they do a good job at incorporating all age groups with various programs at the library. So Sundar, based on your experience with Zach and from what you know, what do you think some of the biggest obstacles are going to be facing the planning board coming up?
Well, as Meena pointed out, the mere fact that we're not able to actually meet face to face, definitely that is number one. We've actually not met as a team in the ZAC for some time now, and that has actually been a sort of a downer because so many things that we have to discuss, important stuff that's not getting discussed now. So there is a little bit of a concern that that could bleed into other committees as well, including the planning board. But also, that ends up creating a huge backlog for the town because a lot of decisions go pending. But those primarily are the main things. So I think everybody's focus, Tom, is to make sure that they are safe, the community is safe. There isn't any spread of this COVID-19 any more than what we encountered. And making sure that people's lives come back to normal, our businesses open up, and in essence, things could go back to normal. Again, people keep saying that we are only living in the new normal. There is no past. So we can't go back to how it was back in February, March. So this is the new normal. So bodies such as the planning board and the ZAC almost have to start thinking about this as the new normal and start wondering what it means. What does it mean for programs in the towns? What does it mean for planning in the times of COVID, where the buzzwords are stay at home and social distancing and sanitizing and all that stuff? So I haven't done too much research on this, but I'm fairly certain that these factors are going to become a huge discussion point in the work that's being done by the planning board.
And I know these e-meetings have been a big transition for people and using these applications such as Zoom, Skype, Facebook Live, all that stuff.
That's correct.
But so how has your experience been with that? I understand you have both been to some of these e-meetings, if I'm correct.
Yes. So the Cultural Council has e-meetings, and we just had one. In fact, I think after the town approved and that we follow the open meeting law, so it was posted. And in fact, I have to say that for the first time since I've joined the Cultural Council, we had an external visitor join in. So I'm actually thinking this was better, because when we used to meet at the town hall, even though it was posted, we've never had a visitor come by. But this time there were actually two visitors, so that was good. And one of them decided to apply for an open position in the Cultural Council. Maybe it is a good way to attract the younger people also to join some of these committees, because they're more, I guess I shouldn't say that, but they seem to be more open to having e-meetings.
Same here, Tom. So we had one exact meeting. I would say it was a challenge because most of us were. It was at the infancy of this entire COVID lockdown, so we were probably struggling a little bit. But as more and more of us, start working from home, have all our work meetings through Zoom, technology actually becomes a huge enabler. So wherein you have to raise your hands to say something, you've got technology where you can raise your hand or share a document. You don't have to worry about bringing printouts. So eventually, as I said, this does become the new norm. So nobody's going to fight this anymore. This may very well become the de facto method, or at least a second method above and beyond just having a face-to-face and putting technology to good use and run more effective meetings. That's definitely my perspective on this.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, there'll certainly be a future for these programs in government meetings, and also it could allow maybe if there's an emergency meeting, last minute situation pops up, you could just hop on Zoom and work it out.
That's true.
Part of the reason we do these interviews is to allow the community to get to know the candidates, but we also want to allow the community to get to know the candidates a bit out of the workplace or the government meetings. So I'm going to have you both tell me a little bit about yourself, some of your interests and things you like to do in your spare time. Meena, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, I already listed out all the things I do. Other than that, I like to read. That's one of the things. I mean, my passion for library was part of because I love reading. I like to go out on walks, and Hopkinton is lovely for that. My favorite walk is the Center Trail in Hopkinton. And, the Cultural Council this year was trying to get art on the trail, which we had a couple of years ago. We were planning that, and unfortunately, I'm really sad that we're not able to make that happen this year. Other than that, we have three boys, and the part of the reason why we decided to come together to this know the candidate is because we are married and we wanted to bring our story in. So we have three boys. Our oldest lives in San Francisco. Our second one is a high school senior. He just graduated and he's off to college, and the younger one is a junior. And we live about a mile from the center of town. And that's about us. And I'll let Sundar talk about himself.
Sure, thanks. So Tom, I have three big, actually four big loves. My primary love is sitting right next to me. But outside of home, I love playing tennis. I'm a huge tennis aficionado. I love watching tennis. I love playing tennis. I was glad eventually when the Hopkinton courts opened up last week, I breathed a sigh of relief. Tennis being the ultimate social distancing game. I wasn't sure why it was closed for this long. I run quite a bit. I've run the Boston Marathon, as I told you. I at least try to run a marathon here and there, half marathons. So definitely passionate about running. And I dabble a little bit in woodworking. So amateur woodworking, making nothing finesse, but some kind of garden stuff or the odd table or chair. So those are primary passions. Of course, I love listening to podcasts, and I don't read books anymore. It's all ebooks. So I listen to them, listen to the podcast, listen to audiobooks. So outside of work, all of these things end up taking up my time. I mean, the kids are grown up; they really don't need my attention. They drive; they have their car. So short of me saying, "Okay, don't get into an accident," that's pretty much it. So they are in their rooms. Meena and I go out for hikes here and there. We hiked Mount Wachusett last weekend. In fact, it was interesting. But those are the kinds of things that we like to dabble. We have a nice set of friends in town and also out of town. We love to hang out. We definitely love to hang out in Bill's Pizza. Great place, great beer, great people. I'm waiting for that to open up soon. So those are pretty much the kinds of things that we engage in outside of work.
Well, Bills, they did a nice job with their outdoor setup, so they're doing some service outside now. So Sundar, you mentioned you ran the marathon. When's the last Boston Marathon you ran?
So that was in 2012.
Yes.
Yeah, 2012. Yeah. So that's when I raised money for the library. Yeah. So I've never qualified, Tom. So I have to raise money and do it. I don't think I'll ever qualify in my life. So that's going to remain an item in my bucket list. I guess maybe when I turn 70, and when they say you can do it in 4 hours, maybe I can do it. I don't know. So, but otherwise, I've done a bunch of others. Last year, I ran the Marine Corps Marathon in DC, and the year prior to that, I ran Philly Marathon. So try to do at least one a year. But I've done 4 Bostons. Technically 2 I ran as a bandit, Tom, if you know what I mean, and 2 I got a number because I collected money.
Well, I got to give credit to anybody that can run a marathon in general, especially as many as you do. That does not sound too easy. I'm sure a lot of training goes into it.
It does.
All right, so we got some rapid fire questions for you both, and it's just about some of your interests and favorite things, and it's totally okay to not have a favorite or say I don't know. So we'll run down the list, and we'll have Meena answer first, and then Sundar can answer right after her for each question. So favorite food to eat?
Oh, Indian food, rice and dal.
Right,
Mexican.
Favorite food to cook? Meena.
I have to say again, Indian food, dosa, which is like a crepe, savory crepe.
Sandwich.
Favorite vacation destination?
Oh my God, Switzerland.
Florida.
Although I have to say that every year my aunts visit Hopkinton, and they say that this is the best vacation place. They go to our backyard, they sit on our deck, and they say, "Why would you go anywhere? This is vacation."
Certainly a lot of fun things to do in Hopkinton. Favorite musician?
Favorite musician? Lionel Richie.
Queen.
2 great musicians. Favorite song?
I will have to go with a Bollywood song from Kal Ho Na Ho.
Killer Queen.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite form of entertainment, whether it's theater, sports, music?
Wow. Netflix shows, binge watching.
Hanging out with friends.
All right. Favorite book or ebook?
I have to say the last one I read, Becoming.
Da Vinci by Walter Isaacson.
All right. Favorite restaurant?
Chipotle.
Our very own Bill's Pizza.
Chipotle has been a popular one during these candidate interviews. They do have good stuff there, and of course, Bill's Pizza very good as well. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? You've Got Mail.
You've got mail. Yes. She took that from me. I was going to say that. I cry in the last scene of You've Got Mail every time without mail.
Well, that's great. So that means you both have a similar movie taste. Favorite actor or actress?
Actor, Bollywood star Shah Rukh Khan.
I go with Tom Hanks for an actor, and actress Barbara Streisand.
All right, terrific. All right, so we're just we got a few minutes left, so I want to give you guys a minute or so, or a minute or two to for any final thoughts or anything that you want to say to the voters in the community. Meena, we'll start off with you.
Okay. Well, I really wish that we could have been doing this in the HCAM studio, but thank you very much, Tom, for giving this opportunity to us. I just want to say to the Hopkinton voters that this is my way of serving the community, and I have really great ideas. My passion is library, and I will do my best to bring the best possible service to the residents of Hopkinton. So please, June 29th, please come out and vote for me.
Thank you, Tom, for setting this up. This was an amazing opportunity. I feel that I can bring passion to what I'm doing. I can bring in hard work and due diligence. I think the planning board has been doing some awesome work, and I'll do my best to move it forward in the same direction, and try to also bring in my own very unique ideas to the forum from my background. And so I would ask everyone to vote for me. Because the town needs people to be involved, and that is the primary reason for me running to this. So this is about the people in the community, serving the community in this fashion, and for the betterment of the entire town. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
All right. Well, I know it was unfortunate we couldn't be in the HCAM studio, but I do love the Jeopardy background. So I thought that was tremendous. But we want to thank you both for all the work you do around the community. We certainly wish you the best of luck in the campaign, and also on your respected boards. So Meena and Sundar, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Bye-bye.
All right, and we do have a couple minutes left on the show, so we just have some reminders for you. The Hopkinton town election is coming up on this Monday, June 29th, and we are going to have election night coverage. As of right now, we are slated to start that election night coverage at 8 p.m. when the polls closed, and we're going to be able to hopefully get the town clerk to come on with us via Zoom and read off the results live on HCAM. So we'll certainly keep you up to date what's going on town election night on June 29th. And we do have some more candidate interviews coming up this week. Tomorrow is our last slate of the candidate interviews. We have Lisa Jackson and Laura Hanson. They are running uncontested for the Parks and Recreation Commission. We have Jessica McCaffrey, who's running uncontested for the Library Trustees Committee, and Joe Markey, who's in a contested race for the school committee. So those interviews were originally supposed to start at 2, but there was a select board meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 2. So we will air those interviews immediately following the select board meeting. So you'll be able to catch those right here as soon as that select board meeting is over. And according to the select board agenda, it appears that the meeting is going to air somewhere around 2:45, 3 o'clock. So right after that, you'll be able to see our 3 candidate interviews on the show tomorrow. But that is going to wrap it up for the Hopkinton Hangout Hour. We thank everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Clear on TV.